Chauffeur here. We have a little project we're going to work on today. You can see behind me, this is a 1950 Checker model A4 parts car. And out in the back, we've got a luggage rack. We're going to try to take that luggage rack off today, eventually clean it up and try putting it on either the A3 behind me, this one, or the A4 that I've already restored. So this video will be hopefully showing you the art of heating up bolts and removing, or worst case scenario, grinding off bolts. So this is the rusted Hulk. So we're going to come back here and take a look at what we're going to remove. We're going to take this rack off. And if you notice, the way this is set up is that this is just a simple rack and it pivots on this bracket here. You see both sides. So when I pull this down, the rack pivots along that swing line. It's actually only held together with two bolts, and then those bolts are bolted to a frame or a mounting frame that's then bolted on the actual frame of the car. So the goal here is to get everything off on both sides. We also have one over here as well, and you can see that this bent bracket is obviously going to be in the way, so that's going to be a problem. But wish me luck. We did actually get one bolt already off, so I can just pull that off like that. So that's the good news. We got one. Now we're going to go after this bolt here, right here, and I'm going to try to heat that off first. Okay, now we're going to try to take this bolt off. Right now, we're going to pull it this way. Let's see if this thing comes off. Hopefully it just snaps off. That's not coming off. Okay, let's try heating up this bolt and taking it out from the top. The bottom seems so frozen, I'm assuming that it might be easier to get a better grip on this. On the top side, since it's so rotted at the bottom, either it will turn or it'll just snap. We'll see. Okay, plan B, we're just going to grind this off. Come in here, grind it, and make a big seam. I got my goggles on, my gloves. Here we go. Okay, take two. Notice I have my handy dandy flak jacket on here to protect me from the flying sparks. I don't want to burn my arms up. Here we go again. Take two. Okay, about a minute of that, taking a little break here, but you can see we're making progress. So as soon as that bolt head is ground down, we should be able to pop this side right off. Okay, so we got this one side done. We can actually take off that this panel. It's one of the bumper panels. Now you can see the full bracket. Let's see if I can just hammer that out here. There you go. So now to get the bracket off, we're going to have to go after those two bolts, but we'll do that later on. And now we'll attack these two bolts. I'm not even going to bother trying to take them off. I'm just going to grind them right off. And we got one bolt off. So now we have one more to go, and I'll just knock out this whole bolt here. There we go. Okay, now we're going to go in for the kill on that last bolt. We're going to have to cut right into the body, but if you notice, there's no integrity left of this body, so I'm not really worried about that. I do want to try to save this bottom panel here, but we'll go after that bolt cut into the body and get it knocked out. Okay, we're making progress. Just a little more to go. Notice I've kind of cut into the body, but we'll grab that. I think we have another minute of grinding to do. There we go. There we go, boom. Okay, so this is the luggage rack. Get a better look at it now. Again, there it runs on that pivoting line. It's like a wing nut holds the main mounting point, and then this is a point where the rack pivots. This is solid. This has been chromed, and it's out solid pipe. It's not hollow. This can be clearly sanded down and de-rusted and re-chromed. And I think we'll do that. This is the mounting bracket. So really all we have to do here is just grind off those two bolts there. Likewise, over here, this bumper mount is really mangled in the way, so we'll have to address that too. So notice I'm wearing my goggles because the sparks are literally flying right into my face. So just always make sure you have goggles on. Okay, so this is off now. Just gonna hammer it here until I can get that bolt in. Be good if I actually hit the damn thing straight. Let me just. There we go, it's off. Okay, so we're down to the last mount, and I have ground off all the bolt tops, and now I'm just gonna hammer it and knock it off and wrap up. So, mission accomplished. Here we go. Boom. There we go. So we're going to mock this up actually on this A3. We'll do that next week. In the meantime, we'll spend some time. Hold on a sec. This is what we're going to be using. We're going to use the wire brush on the brackets. And then I'll use a 220 grit sandpaper on the luggage rack itself. Just finish this up with a little more wire brushing. Somebody's doing some yard work. I don't know what the hell they're doing, but they're far more noisier than I am. It's only 60, 70 years of dirt and rust being scraped away. So I'm going to put a light coat of actually a heavy coat of neutralizer on this. Just as a side note, not only did I use a wire brush, but I also took a wire wheel on a drill, and of course I wired my hand, which is typical of the idiotic things I tend to do on these old cars every weekend. So that's why my hands are always cut up. But wear gloves in the future. This is the Loctite neutralizing paint that I typically use, so we'll give this a spray. And this is really cool stuff because what'll happen is it'll dry and essentially turn black, and the black means that the rust has been neutralized. So this is the one we just coated. This is the one I just wrapped up sanding, so you can see the significant difference. So I'm just gonna, again, spray this with the Loctite rust neutralizer. And maybe I could rust neutralize this whole fender. I don't think so. Alright, we'll let those sit and then do the other side. Now I'll move on to the rack itself. Okay, I've wiped it down. Some tacking cloth. I'm going to just start to neutralize this, just like I did with these over here. While I'm at it, I'll the reverse side of this. Okay, so these have been coated with the neutralizer. It's pretty much dried except a couple minor wet spots. I'm not going to worry about that. What I'm going to do now is, this is a Rust-Oleum Hammerite. It's called Hammerite, is technically the type of paint they call it hammered. But this Hammerite paint is highly zinc-based, which will prevent any rusting. And this car is going to have a cushy life sitting in the garage. It's not going to be in any significant weather. So we're going to put another coating. If I had my way, I'd paint the whole car with Hammerite paint. Alright, I'm going to paint this with basically a self-etching primer coat. And then once we do that, we'll paint it silver as well. So this is, again, the Rust-Oleum product. I'll turn this around in a couple minutes as soon as this primer dries. Get both sides complete. This will allow for a nice finish. Now, I have a little trick I use on that. We'll worry about that next weekend, not today. All right, here we go. The silver coat now. Now what I'll do is I'll sand this again next weekend. And I have a little trick I like to do with glazing putty that will pull out a lot of the imperfections. But not bad.
Faye here, back working on the luggage rack, just doing the final finishing touches on it. Once we have it finished, then we'll put it on mount it up on the Checker A3.
Since my last video, I did make a minor change. I wound up painting this a faux nickel plate silver. I just felt the other silver was too shiny. So that's one thing we've done. And what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to fill in these little pockets of well, nothing more than rod is the best way to put it, to just improve it. I'm doing that with this Bondo putty. Pretty nice stuff. I use it all the time just to attack imperfections in the body paint, or even on, like in this case, the accessories of the car. But we'll do that, and then once we have that finished, we'll just spray out another quick coat of the nickel and mount it on the car. So I've covered the luggage rack completely now in the glazing putty, even to the point where I've touched up some of the mounting and pivot brackets. But this should give us a much better appearance once it's been sanded down. It takes about 20 minutes for this stuff to harden and get ready for sanding, so I'll be off to something else for the time being. This has had ample time to dry, so I'm now going to just take a sanding pad to this and smooth her out. So down here, notice how the glazing putty fills in the various imperfections. So that's the goal here, is to rather than build a new one or spend a whole lot of money on metal work, this glazing putty will give it a really nice finish, and cost about $5 at the AutoZone to get the putty. Still want to keep sanding some of these streaky areas. If I don't attack them, they'll show up in the paint. The goal is really to get the little pinholes. The goal here is to get the little pinholes, like right here, filled in. Okay, so now I've removed virtually all of the putty that I don't need and the glazing putty, and have filled in the pockets. What I'm going to do now is just take a tacking cloth and just wipe down with the tacking cloth. Tacking cloth has like a glue in it, and it picks up all the dust. So when we get a primer coat on this, it'll have a far more smoother finish. Now we'll use the self-etching primer to fill in all the other minor imperfections. Okay, so we're on day 3 of the bumper luggage rack install, and I'm hoping this is going to be an easy exercise, but you know, with the checkers, you never know. But let me show you what we're going to be doing. This is the 1950 Checker A4, and the luggage rack was actually specifically designed for this. This is the bracket, and we're going to be dropping this bracket down and then bolting to the frame. Should be about right here. Now, this bumper is a 5-piece bumper. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then there's 2 additional valances that have to be installed with the bumper. I'm hoping I can just take off this valance and then drop this down into place. My fear is that that's not going to be the case. To take the whole bumper off, we would have to take off this bolt, that bolt, and a similar bolt on the other end. It was never tightened. So there, boom, got that nut off. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna try to take this bumper off. Bumper's off. All right, so we've got one bracket bolted on. Now we're going to go after this bracket. Now, just a point of reference. The gas tank is right behind the frame, so it's going to be a real bastard of a time to get those bolts secured in place. So I'm going to go off camera and do battle with some bolts. Okay, so we have both mounting brackets now are on the car. So I can put the bumper back on, but so to drill the proper holes for these 2 points here, I have the old junk. This is the junk valance from the other Checker, and all I have to do is basically kind of lay this in and figure out where the mounting points are. So what we'll do is we'll take this off and we'll overlay them on top of each other. So what we do is take this off, and there they are. So if I just do a quick peek here. Okay, so there's my mark. So I'm going to have to drill some holes here, some holes here. We'll do the other piece now. Okay, so here's the rack, and notice we've done a lot of rework on the rack itself, so it has a much smoother finish. If you remember, it was a rusted mess when we took it off the old Checker junk A4. And we'll mount it to these 2 points, and hopefully then the bumper just slips right on. Okay, so the rack's mounted. This looks totally off and out of whack, so it's probably going to be for me. This side looks pretty good. So I'm going to try to get the bumper back on and see how this thing shakes out. Okay, I've hoisted the bumper up onto the frame. It's hinged here. So hopefully I'm just going to be able to twist it out a little bit and get the bolts to seat into their representative spots. Okay, so I've got the two center bolts here and here mounted to the frame. So now all I have to do is work this one forward and get the bolt, lined up there. And likewise, the same over here. You can see there's the frame down there. I gotta get this bolt that's here up. That means I've got to pull up quite a bit up here, and if you notice, there's not a lot of tolerance, so we'll see how easy that's going to be. Okay, so my tolerance, although this is bolted, the tolerance isn't right. So what I'm going to have to do is take this off again and drill it a little more over towards this side so we have a better alignment of this balance. But all in all, I'm pretty happy. This is mock-up, so that's what you're supposed to be doing when you go through this exercise. So I'm finished. Successfully got this rack on the car. I just mounted it as I tried. My last videotape, I think you saw me mounting the bolts to the valance, and then it was just a matter of putting the bumper back on. Had to do some minor adjustments and some cutting on the valance, but ultimately it was done. So here's what it looks like. Here we go. It's on. I think it came out really nice. I really like this satin nickel finish. There's still some areas I want to do a little more sanding on, but overall it looks really good. If you remember, some of these areas were really pitted, and I was able to smooth them out. And everything's mounted to the body, and the bumpers are all realigned. Balances too. And the best part is we can pull this down. So we now have a luggage rack the way they used to have them back in the day in New York City. It's a little lopsided. I'll have to make a couple more adjustments probably on this side. I'll put a washer in, a couple washers to kind of get it back in alignment. This piece right here is rubbing against the paint, so I'm gonna try to maybe move this out just a little bit. But by and large, it's good. Very good. I'm real happy. Now, I don't know if you can hear in the background. Listen. The roar of race engines. I am just a mile and a half from the Toledo Speedway, and at 2 o'clock they're going to be having a USAC race. So I think I'm done, cleaned up. I'm just going to wash my hands, and I'm kind of grubby, but I've got some cash. I think I'm just going to go pick up a ticket and sit up in bleachers and watch the cars go around and around and around. Thanks for watching.